When Jay Norvell took over Colorado State, you knew it was going to take some time to get this program back to where they needed to be. When you saw what he did at Nevada, you knew what he was capable of doing, but Colorado State needed time to turn things around. After a 5-7 season last year, there's plenty of reason to be excited for the 2024 season. One of those big reasons to be excited is Torrey Horton. A surprising decision by him to not only come back to school, but also stay at Colorado State. This is a guy who could have gone to almost any Power Five school that he wanted to. He could have gone anywhere in the transfer portal, but he decided to come back. And when you look at the talent they have returning, it's pretty easy to see why. Now, this year is going to be interesting because he has done this for a couple years now. The production that he has given Colorado State, especially last year, 96 catches, over 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns. Teams are aware of his skill set. They know what he's capable of doing, but at times it almost didn't matter. Teams didn't know how to stop him. Teams didn't exactly know what they were in store for, and they found out pretty quick. It does not matter how many players you send his way, he is going to find a way to be successful. Back to back years of over 1,100 yards receiving. Corey Horton is one of the best college football wide receivers that you'll see this year, and Colorado State is in great hands. Even with some of the players they lost, they're in great hands, especially in the passing attack that finished ninth because he returns and that opens up the field for everybody else. Now, a group that also benefits from his return is the defense, believe it or not. This secondary has talent. This secondary has experience. And a guy like Jack Howell needs to find a way to have that group show improvement. When you look at statistically, this defense was not very good. And the fact that your safety led the team in tackles isn't exactly an endorsement of a good defense. You do not want your safety having over 100 tackles. It means you're cleaning up a lot of breakout runs. It means you're doing a lot of mop up duty for the guys in front of you. And don't get me wrong, Jack Howell is a good player, a good tackler, but you'd like to see him more on the passes defended and interceptions than on tackles and tackles for loss. Now, an underrated part about him is a 6'3", 215 pounds. That is a big safety that is capable of handling life in the trenches. And part of that is probably, why he is up to 215 pounds. He can handle that life because they know that they need him to create tackles. Maybe you see him slim down a little bit because the guys in front of him are better than they were last year. That's going to be a big thing. If they are able to take a step forward up front, Jack Howell does not have to do as much work. And that's a good thing. You do not want to see this production from Jack Howell. Now he's capable of doing it, but back-to-back 100 tackle seasons for your starting safety is not what you want to see for a defense that should be better in 2024. When Norvell came to Colorado State, I think everybody expected Clay Millen to be the guy. Now Millen is in the transfer portal after last year wasn't great for him. An injury keeps him out, and that puts Braden Fowler Nicolosi into the starting position, and he didn't look back. There's really nothing more to say about that. 3,400 yards, 22 touchdowns. The one thing you want to see is that touchdown interception ratio grow a lot more. You can't throw 16 interceptions if you only throw 22 touchdowns. You have to find a way to either decrease those interceptions. That would probably be the most ideal. And at the same time, if you can, increase the passing touchdowns. And the group they have returning, even when you lose Justice Ross Simmons to the transfer portal late in this cycle, that was probably one of the more disappointing departures for this team, but there's still plenty of talent returning. I think Fowler Nicolosi is just getting started. You look at what he did last year. Early on, he was definitely learning, but you saw the confidence. This is a guy who is the definition of a gunslinger. He is going to take chances. He's going to make throws that are very difficult, and he's going to complete a lot of those passes. He's going to find a way to get his guys the football, and we saw that against big time competition. Now, if he can be a more mature player, take care of the football a little bit better, you're going to see a passing attack that is still in the top 10, maybe even in the top 5, and you're going to see Colorado State take a huge step in terms of the win column in 2024. Back to the secondary, Henry Blackburn got on everyone's radar pretty quick and not for the right reason. We all know about the hit on Travis Hunter. We all know about the aftermath of that game, one of the best games in college football last year. And Blackburn unfortunately got a lot of recognition, and it wasn't for a good thing. A lot of people were very upset with him with that hit, and understandably so. It was the late hit, and I'm really glad of how certain people, specifically Deion Sanders, handled it, specifically Travis Hunter. The fact that Hunter and Blackburn got together and essentially made peace with what happened. It was a football play. Yeah, it was a little bit late. But Henry Blackburn is a great player. And I think that kind of got lost last year because that play overshadowed his season. 75 tackles, 7.5 tackles for loss, 3 interceptions, 2 fumble recoveries. This is a big time player for Colorado State. And I think that this year, now that we're past all of that drama, you're going to see a player that gets the love he deserves. He's a very fun player paired with Jack Howell. You're seeing a guy again. You want to see the fact that your two safeties combined for over 180 tackles says that you need to figure things out up front. That being said, that gives you options for when you do have improvement up front for what you can do with your safeties. Blackburn and Howell are very capable players, and this secondary, they'll surprisingly finish 108th defending the pass. I think that they're going to be a better group. They'll be better at defending the pass, and this defense as a whole will improve, which means that Colorado State, after a 5-7 season, a bowl game doesn't seem too far out of reach. A player that kind of flew under the radar because everyone's focusing on the offense and then the two safeties is Dom Jones, 6'2", 195 pounds, has that good size for a cornerback, and he's going to be a big reason why they take a step forward as well. The experience you have in the secondary gives you a lot of hope for the 2024 season, and it's going to be fun to see what this group can do this year. It'll be interesting to see what the passing attack or the pass defense does in terms of taking steps forward because the experience should translate into better production. But again, a lot of that is going to be determined by the guys up front. If you don't have anybody that's doing any work for you up front, it's going to be a long year, but you have the talent on the backside to make plays. Now, we talked about the fact that Justice Ross Simmons is off to Syracuse in the transfer portal. That means Dylan Goffney has an opportunity in front of him. The former SMU transfer didn't have the best season at 298 yards and 2 touchdowns, but now he's thrust into a more prominent role with this offense. Again, the passing attack, everyone's focusing on Torrey Horton. It's easy to see why. That means Dylan Goffney has a great opportunity to see some favorable matchups, to see some good one-on-one opportunities to make plays. And it's just on him from this point forward to make that happen. One of the beauties of Norvell's offense is that you don't need your offensive line to protect for a super long time. You are trying to get the ball out quick, and that's great. But also having some guys up front that can help you is a bonus as well. Drew Moss is an experienced player with 34 starts under his belt, and the senior is going to play a huge role in keeping the quarterback upright, keeping this offense going, and find a way to maybe balance out this offense a little bit more. This is a group that finished 125th running the football, 9th throwing the football, so there's a clear disparity between those two. I think that this is going to be a more balanced group because the offensive line has the experience, because a guy like Moss is so talented. And again, the scheme itself does not require him to do a ton of work at times, which also keeps him fresh later in games. So while the quarterback can get the ball out, Fowler Nicholas, you can just run those quick screens, and Moss gets an opportunity to have a breather because they don't have to always block for multiple seconds. And there are some talented edge rushers in this league. So a guy like Moss is going to benefit from the scheme, but also Colorado State is going to benefit from having him back. We talked about the front seven and what they need to do. A guy like Chase Wilson is going to be imperative for this defense if they want to take a step forward. 107 tackles, 8.5 tackles for loss. You need this front seven to be more disruptive. You simply cannot accept what you saw last year. You do not want the guys on the back end making those plays because that means guys like Wilson and others are not doing their job. They are not getting to their lanes. They are not getting to the ball carrier, and they're not being disruptive. And if you see Chase Wilson lead the team in tackles and you see him get into double digits in tackles for loss, I think you're in good hands for the 2024 season. And that gives your offense more time and more opportunities to put the ball in the end zone. A transfer that Colorado State got that I'm really intrigued to see is Donovan Ollie, 6'3", 215 pounds, comes from Cincinnati, where it was a disappointing experience after transferring from Washington State. I was kind of surprised that he chose Cincinnati just because Washington State and Cincinnati's offenses were two completely different schemes. I think that this fit is a little bit better for his skill set. And you see, even just in his limited production, he only had 2 catches for 50 yards, though. This is a player who could really step up. If Dylan Goffney isn't that guy, Donovan Olave is definitely capable of doing what they need him to do. And again, there's an opportunity because Ross Simmons is gone. Someone needs that to be that second option, and Donovan Ollie is definitely capable of doing that. And last but not least, Isaiah Esisima, the former Houston commit at one point who committed to Nevada later on, is now coming with or coming to back to Norvell with Colorado State, and this is an underrated player. Nevada did not get a ton of attention because of their team struggles, and he is someone that definitely flew under the radar because of that struggle. I think that again, you're looking someone needs to play opposite of Dom Jones. They have a number of players, but Asisima is one of those players that could step up. He's an undersized player who has multiple years of experience. He is definitely capable of handling life in the Mountain West. It's not like he's moving to a tougher conference. He's sticking within the same conference. And the only difference now is that he has more support on his new team than he did at his last. This is a really exciting player. This is a really exciting team. Another team that, when you look at the Mountain West and what they have, this is going to be a deep conference. This is going to be a tough conference to win. And Colorado State is going to be one of those teams in the running.